Then on the Titans and everything going on with them, as Cam Ward, last year's top pick, finished the 2025 season on a high note. You saw some of the flashes of what you can expect from him going forward. In fact, no quarterback had a higher touchdown to interception ratio over the final 10 weeks of the season. He now gets to work with a new offensive coordinator, Brian Dable, who has previous success with young quarterbacks such as Josh Allen and Jackson Dart. New Titans head coach Robert Saleh spoke today on what his second-year QB has been working on this offseason.
The mechanical stuff for us is always going to come with his feet. You know, that's the one thing. You, as a coach, you're really not going to mess with his arm angles, the way he releases the ball. You're not going to try to fix that. The way he throws the ball is the way he throws the ball. From a coaching staff standpoint, it's going to be about tying everything with his feet.
Jeff, what more can you tell us about what the Titans have planned for Cam Ward and Brian Dable's system?
Well, first of all, he did add that it's going to be fiery between Cam Ward and Brian Dable. Some dickering is a sure thing. But one of the things I thought that Saleh talked about that was interesting, not just about the mechanical side of it, but also the mental side of it. He said that he sees Cam Ward, we talked about it with Patrick Mahomes, in the building every day. Now, they can't really talk ball at this point in the offseason program, but he said what's so impressive about Cam Ward is that he walks through the building, he literally knows every single person's name. He knows the trainers, the chefs, all the different people in the building that make it work. He said he just cannot fathom a world where Cam Ward fails. He just
love that.
He believes in him, what he's seen from him so far, and the idea of Brian Dable. I think that those two will challenge each other. They are both fiery, and they are not afraid to share that.
Yeah, and they're competitive as all get out. They want to win. I mean, it's going to be fun to see them together. The Titans have a huge decision at 4 overall. I mean, some of these mocks, you see Jeremiah Love go in there. What sense do you get about where they may go in this upcoming draft?
I'll say this about a Robert Saleh built team, whether it was in San Francisco or it was with the Jets when he was the head coach. One thing that is always a hallmark: waves of defensive linemen that they can wove through. And you already saw the offseason how they've started that with John Franklin Myers. They brought him in. They traded for Jermaine Johnson. With the defensive ends that are in the top of this draft, Bailey, Reese, and Bain, I wouldn't be shocked if everyone else is talking Jeremiah Love, if a Robert Saleh coach team adds another explosive pass rusher with one of those three names that might be sitting there at number 4. Again, it's early. We're not even into April. But don't put anything in pen and give offense to the Titans just yet. Robert Saleh is the coach, and he has a characteristic that he likes with his defensive lines.
Yeah, it's important to remember that all these teams have a ton more work to do on the draft. Right. As much as we're talking about the draft all the time, and you hear some things here and there, it really starts to become real here over this next month, and they're going to be getting to work hard after spending some time here in the desert.
Saleh just texted me, by the way.
Oh, what did he say?
He's golfing right now, so.
Well,
he okay. Yes. This is actually a pretty wild stat. There's a lot of statistical illusions. There really are. I see plenty of quarterbacks, and that's why some of these even more advanced analytic stats, you'll see a lot of, clearly teams or quarterbacks that are not playing so great, but they'll have like a great, a deep average depth of target, a great yards per attempt, or, whatever it may be. Some of these other things just a passing yards in general or something, and you'll be like, and I have a whole video actually discussing this. I made it I think last summer where I talked about like how do we appropriately evaluate quarterback play, because we'll use certain metrics and yet we can find quarterbacks that we don't think are great. And I think we use the quarterbacks like Geno Smith as an example to whatever it may be, and be like look at these numbers are good. Like one of the examples was the one year I think like Geno and Tua and Baker like had better numbers than Patrick Mahomes. I think the reference year was 2023, I think it was. And yet like no one is saying that those quarterbacks are better than Mahomes or that they even had a better year than Mahomes. And yet it's just like yet here are the numbers. And so it does, you kind of have to figure out why someone like Lamar or Mose or whoever will say, well, they didn't have any enough wide receivers, or they didn't, his O-line wasn't good enough. But then we don't really give that exact same benefit of the doubt to again go Smith, or it's like, well, what's Geno's O-line looking like, how does he have great wide receivers? And so it is a fascinating discussion, but I do think there's certain stats that are going to be difficult to kind of trick you, to kind of give you an illusion of what's real and what's not, right? To kind of trip you up a little bit. And I think touchdown interception ratio is one of them. It's a little if you just look at because other times people will be like, oh, what's his face threw for like 5,000 yards and like 50 touchdowns. Jameis Winston, and I was like, yeah, laughter. What was how many turnovers did he have? How many interceptions did he have? Right? It's like tell the whole story, right? Like let's tell the truth here. Okay. What the heck was his completion rate? Like what's the whole story here? You know, and it's just like so there's always going to be things that can kind of trip you up. And I do think that touchdown to interception ratio is definitely going to be one of the better stats that are going to be a little bit more resilient to again some of those illusions, some of those things that trip you up. And that's why you look at a list like this and you're like Cam Ward, Caleb Williams, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, like that's pretty good. That's a pretty good is to be part of. And the fact of the matter is you're doubling that of like a Matthew Stafford. Now, the way how something like this can be cooked a little bit is that you're missing other throws, you're getting lucky with drop passes. Like, so it still can of course be cooked and be a little bit manipulated and I don't mean on purpose, right? I don't mean on purpose, but I just mean like it's something that you would have to peer through. But I do think that at the end of the day it does highlight a decision-making ability in Cam Ward. I think even when Cam Ward was clearly not at his best and when he was clearly a rookie and learning and growing and a little overwhelmed and rushed and panicked, you know, even when things were just clearly, that's not what I want to see as someone who believes in Cam Ward, especially when I'm watching. Like I'm always going to be like hyper aware of some of those moments when I realize that was not good because it's like I have to write that down now. Like I have to put a note in this and say, ugh, that was a really bad decision. That was a really bad throw. And then I have to talk about it. And I don't want to, but I will because I want to be unbiased and I want to talk about the good and the bad. But as someone who I'm like, I believe in you when you do something like that, I'm like, man, I'm like, no, I got to talk about that. Like, I don't want to talk about it. But I do. And with Cam, I do think even. In those moments, I think though, even if there was a moments that he was trying to do something that he was just failing at, you know, straight up. I still can appreciate, and I think this actually really even highlighted in week 1, in literally week 1 against the Denver Broncos, I was just like, he's obviously making some rookie mistakes. There's times that he's trying to do too much or hold on to the ball too long, you know, whatever it may be. But I appreciated the decision making and it's why and for whatever reason, this is the other name that pops in my mind, Spencer Rattler of all quarterbacks, where I remember cause someone was talking to me, someone whose opinion I value, he was talking about, oh, Spencer Rattler is actually a better quarterback than maybe you realize, blah 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 blah. And as Spencer Rattler is always an interesting quarterback because he can definitely have some moments when you're like, oh, that's a nice player. Like, oh, okay. He's got some legs, right? He's got a little juice, right? Like you see he's obviously not Mahomes, but you can see why someone could be like, oh, okay. Like, there's a little bit of some Mahomes in there, a little bit of magic in there, and it confuses you. It convinces you that there could be something there that may not exist at all. And to me, that ultimately gets boiled down to so much of decision making and the decision making. And that is one of the biggest GS that Caleb Williams had going for him in his rookie year. Things were obviously a bit of a mess. He was definitely inaccurate. And again, I'm not blaming him for all of it, but it was just that it wasn't this amazing year. And people tried to just go by the numbers and say, well, he actually had this, you know, this many touchdowns, this many yards. And I was like, it's a little cooked. A lot of it was when they were already getting blown out and it was in the fourth quarter, right? It was like, we got to tell the whole story. But he was a smart decision maker. He didn't actively with concrete action make things worse. You could say, oh, he held on to the ball too long and was taking sacks. And you could say that that's an action, but it's different than like an active decision of actively putting the ball in harm's way or trying to do something where you're like, buddy, in no situation is this ever what you should be doing. And that's why a Spencer Rattler comes to mind where I'm just like, you have too many moments. And again, the one game was specifically, I believe it was against the Bucks, the Saints versus the Bucks, because I'm like, oh, maybe Spencer Rattler is going to pull this off against the Bucks. And I was just like, there's too many moments when I'm just like, buddy, what the heck are you like, what are you like, what are you actually doing right now? Where do you in what universe do you think that this was the right move? This was the right decision. This was the right plan of attack. Where did you ever think that you were going to be able to pull that off? Like I don't understand. I don't understand what you don't understand. And I think Cam Ward limited that, didn't have those moments. Again, there's going to be moments when he has that, but it was limited. And when you look at this list, to me, this list actually really highlights it because Caleb Williams has that already in him. Aaron Rodgers at this point of his career understanding being the absolute high IQ seasoned veteran that he is and he's not trying to play beyond himself because he knows exactly who he is and what he's capable of doing in this moment. I can only really recall one time and I think it was against the Bengals that I was like I'm surprised you made that throw because you should know at this point you can't make that throw. That's just you don't have that in you right now. And that actually surprised me. But that's like really the only moment that I really remember seeing it when he went up against Joe Flacco in that pretty crazy game. And Matthew Stafford obviously at this point can just make every single throw and he rarely gets his hand caught in the he's ultra aggressive, but he's an elite passer. And so I do think something like this is actually pretty telling. It's actually really fascinating. And this is playing for a team that's a bit of S. And then you know what's going on from a coaching perspective and a play calling perspective. Really impressive. Now, in those 10 weeks, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception, right? That's how you get where you're at. You can see Jalen, which was great, 10 for 5, and that was during one of his games where he just had a really, unfortunate game against the Chargers. So, that even inflates his interception rate. You see Kirk Cousins 105, Jordan Love 104, Justin Herbert 106, Lamar 11-6, and again like Lamar missed a bunch of games I'm sure in that 10-week window. So that's going to be, skewed. Sam Darnold 13-10, pretty wild. Baker 139, Burrow 155, Caleb 183, definitely pretty awesome. Stafford 296. Right? That's just insanely high volume. But you're throwing for 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. Again, there's definitely going to be some moments that you could have easily had an interception and it was just dropped and whatnot. For all of these quarterbacks, mind you, but you're throwing for 10 touchdowns and 1 interception. That's going to be pretty legit on a 62% completion percentage. Like, that's high. That is smart decision making. That is just smart decision making. I'm not telling you it's everything because again, there was probably other touchdowns on the board for Cam Ward, right? There was probably other plays that he could have made. And so especially when I see you. Over 10 weeks, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. Again, there's going to be some conservative play there, which considering how the Titans season was unfolding and the way how everything was unfolding for them, it's smart. Just like it was smart of Caleb Williams his rookie year, like it's just this is what it is. This is the situation you're in. I'm just going to play smarter, more grounded football right now. I'm not trying to do anything above and beyond. And you can see the absolute evolution because through weeks 1 through 8 because it's 9 onward is the final 10. 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions and a passer and a completion percentage of 58.1%. I mean that is such a clear line. And even sacks, he had 34 sacks compared to I think it was 21 or 22 sacks in that final 10 in more games. Significantly less sacks. Like this is a quarterback who showed there is a line of genuine growth of genuine improvement of the game. I don't want to say slowing down because I think the game doesn't really slow down until it's like year 2, year 3, right? But relatively speaking, like on a spectrum, slowing down, making smarter decisions, in all aspects of quarterback play. It's a good spot to be in. It's a great spot to be in, honestly. So I do think something like this at the minimum shows a lot of maturity. Shows a lot of maturity, a lot of understanding. And yeah, little things like this continue to keep me really excited and optimistic about Tennessee Titans. I won't go all in about the draft right now because we've already talked about that a bunch and I really don't know which direction they go to. Peter Schrager is trying to say that they're going to go defense rather than a Jeremiah Love. You know, I see the value in all of it. Especially when you're drafting as high as the Titans. I see the value in any direction, any player that they could possibly draft. I see the value, right? I really do. Which is why I'm like, you know, I'm lucky I'm not the one making the decisions here. My mind still goes to Jeremiah Love. I'm still an offensive junkie when it comes to that. And I'm still really excited at the idea of what Brian Daboll can do. And I still stand by the idea of what Robert Saleh should be able to do in terms of elevating other talent and not needing a top 4 talent to make that defense significantly better. But when it comes to offense, when it comes to Brian Daboll, when it comes to the idea that Brian Daboll will most likely not be there for the long term, get this offense absolutely flushed with talent. Get this offense flushed with talent. Bring Cam Ward up to speed. Let everyone get settled. Let everyone be great. That mean when Brian Daboll, when it is time for him to go because he'll get another coaching job. Then you bring in another coordinator. Now they have so much to work with because that's going to be the coach that's not going to be as good as Robert Saleh is at defense. That's just going to be the name of the game. And so you know, make things easier on the offensive side of the ball. You're the defensive coach. You take on that burden. That's why you're the head coach. You're the head coach. So, that's where my mind goes. But, you know, I already talked about that much deeper in another video. And so, I won't waste time here saying it, but I guess I needed to say those other couple sentences since, Peter Schrager brought it up. But, yeah, that this stat right here should actually get you really excited. It actually really should, because there really is a big difference between weeks 1 through 8 and weeks 9 onward. There was a huge difference there. Huge difference. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans? Let me know your thoughts. Every single comment, it's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.